Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Designs by Dana. I'm Dana, and today I'm working on a layout that will be a continuation of an album I recently started for one of my really good friends from actually grade school. We have been best buds since 4th grade, and this is her dad, Bud, who has been like a second father to me. And their family has 8 children. And these pictures were taken last fall at their family home in Northwest Missouri. And for each child, this is the second child in the family, Joe, we did a family photo of each child and their family, and then pictures with their dad, Bud. And for some reason, his wife wasn't in this photo, but in many of the photos, his wife, Bev, is in them as well. And then we have a big family photo of Bud and all his children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And you may see me scrap that as well. There were 69 people in that one huge photo and one dog. And it was amazing how well that photo turned out in front of their beautiful family home there. And I grew up across the street from Anne and her family growing up. And this is a very special family to me. So I want to create this album for Anne. So I'm just going to show you real quick. This is the original layout I did a couple weeks ago. And this is Cindy, the oldest daughter. So I'm doing at least a page for each child to create this album. So today I'm working on Joe's page. And these are the pictures that I have here. So I think this is also going to be a single page layout. And my theme today is really kind of mixing and matching your pattern papers to make it work for your photos. So I really want to talk about what papers I'm choosing for this picture. And when you look at this photo really close, it's kind of hard to tell. But in the big family photo, each child and family was assigned a color. So when we had that big photo of 69 people, you could tell which family went together based on the color scheme that they were wearing. And in these blouses that these ladies here are wearing, their color was kind of a green sage color. And that was really my inspiration, particularly with this blouse here. It's kind of a sage green color with some white polka dots. And as I was thinking about papers that I could use for this layout, something specifically jumped out in my mind. And that was some paper that was in a recent Lake Life scrapbooking kit. So this is that paper packet in the kit, what I have left of it. I've got some die cuts left here and the instructions. I'm gonna hold on to the sticker sheet because there might be some stickers here that I can use as well. The hearts and some of the icons, the family fun might work. But particularly this paper right here is what came to mind because it really coordinates with those shirts that they're wearing. So this was the first thing that jumped out. And I knew nothing else in this kit would work. So I thought I would at least pull that paper and hold it aside to really build out my layout and see how I could make this work. So that was the beginning of my thought process. Then I went back into my stash to see what else I could find. So I have this paper. Of course, I wanted to bring in some of the blue to go with the green. And this is from the Good Life paper packet. And this is the Harbour blue. And it's a nice wood grain. And I thought wood grains would bring in the masculine look and also kind of the wood grain in the house. So I pulled that one out, and I'm gonna kind of keep it aside. I'm not sure that I'm gonna use it, but I wanted to at least show you a little bit about my thought process. So as I continued my journey in looking for papers and colors that would match, I also found this packet, and this is the As You Grow. It's a couple years old, and you can see here it is really designed for a baby, young child theme. But as I flip through here, the colors in here are really what I was looking for. So this paper, I think, is going to work perfectly with these photos, and I also think it matches this paper ideally. So I definitely pulled this out, and I think I want to use this paper. This charcoal paper has also got a really nice kind of a wood grain tone to it, and I think it pulls out the wrought iron post here in the photo. So I'm going to pull that out as a maybe to use as well. Now, if I were focusing more on Martha, Joe's wife, in the photo, I might go more with a feminine touch. But since the focus of my photo is Joe, I don't really want to use the florals and some of these other patterns in this paper pack. But I could if I wanted to. But I think I want to keep it more of a masculine look, just because this layout is more focused on the son rather than the daughter-in-law. So I'm just going to stick with these patterns for now, and we'll see what we can come up with. But I did notice there are some potential pieces on the stickers that I could use if I wanted to. This little zip strip here has a lot of potential. The Forever maybe has some potential. So we'll hang on to this and keep it close by just in case we want to pull in some of those stickers for some embellishing. So as I started kind of looking at these pieces of paper for some potential, I wasn't real happy with this Harbour color in with these. But I like the idea of the wood grain. And I remember that we have a lot of wood grain in our stash from previous Close to My Heart catalogs. So I went back to my wood grains, and I pulled in several different wood grain patterns that I think have a lot of potential. So I pulled out 3 favorites for these photos. So really, I just have to decide which of these 3, and I'm going to pull this piece out just for now. I think I might still use it, but we're going to see how many pieces I really need for the layout. So really focusing on these 2 patterns and adding in a wood grain. I just have to kind of think about which one of these wood grains I like the best. I'm leaning towards the dark, but I'm also thinking that I might want to use the wood grain as my base page, and I think the dark might be a little too dark for the base. So that's taking me more towards perhaps this piece as my base. So I'm kind of leaning towards this one, and I'm thinking, you know, I'll have some of this layered in. So I think that's going to look good because I've got this dark stripe, and that will tie in to these wrought iron posts, and I think that will be a good tie-in. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate these 2 and stick with this one for now, and we'll see if I end up changing my mind. So these are going to be my main focus, but I thought, you know, I could do a layout with just this, certainly have in the past, but I might want a little bit more color. So I went to my drawer of Picture My Life cards, and I always forget that I have them, and I'm gonna kind of stop my live and then I'll come back, but I want to show you what I have in my stash. So I'm gonna pause, show you a picture real quick, and then I'm going to come back and show you what we're going to do with those cards. So let's go to that picture and we'll come right back. Okay, so you saw how much I really have in my stash. And then I picked out the Picture My Life cards that coordinate with the As You Grow paper packet. And you can see some of these I've cut into, use them for pocket scrapbooking, use them for cards, all kinds of things. And I found some that I think will really work nicely with this layout if I decide to go that route. So I've got another potential wood grain. You know, this one's more brown, this one's more gray, so I'm not real sure about that one. But I could cut this one up and it would make a nice little pattern. This one, of course, would make a nice little pattern. This, I think, will be perfect for some journaling. I pulled both of these out. Don't know that I necessarily need them both, but of course they will coordinate perfectly. And then adding some more of that blue Harbour looks great with these two plaid shirts. This is the same as that one, so I don't know that I need both of those. And then again, just some smaller pieces, just as in case. I don't really need the pink, but we'll hang on to these. Well, this is really the same as that, so I don't know if I need too much duplication. So we'll pull that one out. But now I've got a lot of variety that I can work with if I need to add some more color into my spread. So we'll put these off to the side as well. And now I feel like I'm really confident in having enough color, enough different variety of patterns that I can really build this out. So I'm going to put all this paper away and get it off of my table so I've got more room to work here. But what I'm thinking, just as a start, is that I want my photos to look kind of like this. I may trim this one down just a hair so they're not too scrunched in. Of course, I have to cut that zip strip off, so I don't have quite as much room here. But I'm thinking something like this. And for each layout, of course, I put the child's name. So I'll put, for my title will be Joe up here. So that's as far really as I have a vision. So let me get some of this out of the way, and then we'll bring in those papers that I have selected and start trimming them down and building out this layout. Okay, so I've got these cut down. Let's see, so I ended up cutting this piece at 5 inches. And I think I'm going to put it up about 3 inches from the bottom, so about right there. And then this piece I cut 6 inches by 6.5. And I'm going to center it between the 5-inch piece. And I think that makes a nice little mat, if you will, for my focal photo. And then, you know, I mentioned I wanted those Picture My Life cards to pop out, and I couldn't decide between the striped one or the, I don't know what you call that, but that pattern. And I played around with that, and I had this idea. So let me show you a couple options I came up with. I had the idea of including both and just layering them, and I kind of liked that. And the problem I had there is if I pull this card out, I wouldn't have had enough to cut this card in half and get enough height here to do the top and the bottom, because I obviously have this piece, and I thought I might be able to use this piece somewhere else on the layout, but I wouldn't have had that height to layer this in. So I would need probably at least about, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 inches there to emulate that same look on the bottom. So you can see I wouldn't have enough there. So that kind of nixes that idea. So I could just do it on the top, which is one option. I don't like it that way, so that's definitely wasn't an option. I could also just not do this pattern at all and leave it like that. And it just feels kind of plain to me. So I found an alternative that I think I really like. So I've got this much card, and let's see, it's just under 3 inches. So I can cut this in 1.5 inches and get 1.5 inches on the top and bottom. I could even go a little bit less if I want to. So I could do that. And then I could bring this down here. And I really like that. So I think I've given myself a really good compromise to my problem. So I'm gonna cut this down just really quick while we're on camera, because it's not gonna take me very long. And then we'll see what that looks like. So you guys will have to tell me if you think I made the right choice. And we'll take a peek at what this looks like. So we'll stick this under here. And we'll stick this one back up under here. And now I really like that. Instead of trying to layer these. And I could still do that, but I think I'm happiest with this route. So here, the only thing that's missing, I think, is inking my edges, right? So I'm gonna ink my edges. The other thing I thought about, and I think I might do this, I still have this pattern here. I've got a tiny bit of scrap of this pattern. And of course, I still have some of this pattern. And I also have this plaid. So I've got some other pieces I can play around with. What I'm thinking about doing is, I can even bring this down a little bit more if I need to. Thought I might do a little banner over here in this corner. So I'm going to put the name here, a banner here, and I've also got this piece that I can put down here for my journaling. So let me cut some tags. We'll put them up here, see what they look like. I'm going to ink these edges. I like to use charcoal or a gray for my inking, and I just think that gives it a nice finished off look. And one thing about inking your edges is, I think when you do that, you definitely want to use one consistent color for everything. So let me get these inked. I'm going to tack these down and we'll see how it looks. I have everything glued down here except for my little pennants up here at the top. So I brought in a stamp set from my stash. This is the You're a Classic stamp. I brought this in because a memory that I have of Joe growing up is that he was always working on cars in Bud's garage. And he worked on them not in the sense of mechanically, but from a body shop type of work. So painting cars and that auto body type work. So you can see here that I brought in my stamping platform, and I did stamp that a couple times. I cut out a little bit of that. And then I wanted to bring in a pop of color in this layout. So I brought in some Paprika pattern paper, and this is from a mix-in sheet. And I stamped it on that. So I'm going to kind of pull both of those stamped cars in, and I'm kind of like a eeny, meeny, miny, mo here. I can't really decide which one I like better. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out this Paprika one just so I can lay it down and audition it. And what I didn't show on camera is that I ended up using the white stamped one, and I colored it in with marker, and I didn't actually show that coloring process on camera, but most of you guys have seen me do some marker coloring on camera, so you're probably familiar with that process. But I'm going to cut this out and lay it down here just to see what that color will look like on this layout. And I do like adding in the pop of color, but I need more of that color. So I'm bringing in some of the other little embellishments, and I decided to use that same paper and add some more color. So I cut out some hearts, and then I cut a couple more pennants, and this gives me a really nice visual triangle of that paprika color. So now I'm ready to think about my title, and of course the title of the page is going to just be the name Joe. So I have my color ready stickers again from my Close to My Heart stash, and I'm auditioning a couple different marker colors here, and I landed on the Stampin' Up Stampin' Blends Night of Navy, and I'm just going to color these in with the marker. quickly coloring in the J for the letter, or the letter J for Joe, and I'll do the rest off camera. So I'm just going to kind of fast forward here. Now you can see I have them all colored in, and I'm going to use my ruler to help me align this up. And I found the easiest way is to start with my middle letter, and then I can position the rest of the title. I mean, in this case, it's only a 3-letter word, so it makes it a little bit easier. But starting in the middle and then working my way to the left and to the right helps me position that just a little bit easier. And I'm putting those down really, really lightly so that I can kind of audition it and then make sure that's exactly what I want before I push those into the paper. And again, I haven't put these pennants down yet because I wanted to make sure that's exactly what I wanted with adding in the paprika. And I realized that by adding those in, I do need to put some foam tape on the back of those 2 pieces because I popped everything else up. So I want to make sure I get those popped up as well. And we'll kind of realign those. So I think that's going to get everything here in place. I am going to save my journaling, and I'll do that off camera. I want to get some more information about Joe's birth date and everything. So then I realized that there was a sticker that I wanted to include with this heart, and it's a little too much over here on the left. So I'm thinking I want to use it to ground the car down here. And now you can see that I did color in that car with the markers. And I was really happy with how that turned out. But I thought the title just needed a little bit more. It's just kind of up here all by itself. So I found this other stamp set in my stash. It's called Everyday Featured Attractions, and it has this tiny little arrow type of a stamp. And so my intention is to bring in some Harbour ink, and I'm using my ruler and hoping that I can get this straight. So you can see I'm pulling that down closer to me since I'm trying to do this with the camera overhead. And by using the ruler, I'm trying to line that up as best I can on each side. And I'm just adding a couple little arrows on each side of the title just to add a little bit more emphasis around the title and his name. So it's not just kind of floating there by itself, if you will. I realize I forgot to put down my hearts there, so I'm just going to put those down. And then I have my pendants, and I brought in some embellishments. So I have some really nice pieces from Stampin' Up that would work. But again, since I'm really focusing on a stash busting layout and video here, I brought in some of my Artesian studs from Close to My Heart, and I don't have a lot left, so I want to use those up. Now these come in 2 different sizes, so I'm using the smaller size to put up here with my pendants, and I have just the perfect amount to space in between each one of these pendants. And then I have some larger ones that I'm going to use with the rest of the layout and use them in my clusters. Now, like many of us, I like to use my embellishments in odd numbers. So I'm going to pepper these around my clusters in numbers of 3 with these odd numbers. I ended up with having 2 of these studs left on my sheet. So off camera, I ended up adding the final 2 down around my journaling. So that's going to wrap this up. I'm just going to snip off that little piece, and that finishes out the layout. So there's just a little close up. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate your time in watching my video today. And here's just a few still shots of the rest of the layout. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day, everyone.